Back in 2011, DC decided to reboot the comic book line with the New 52, which was created by the Flashpoint storyline, a storyline in which Barry Allen, or the Flash, went back to the night where his mother was murdered and prevented it, which created a new timeline where Superman was taken in by the government instead of the Kents, Batman was killed, or Bruce Wayne was killed when he was a kid instead of his parents, and his parents became Batman and the Joker, and Aquaman and Wonder Woman are now at war. And then Barry Allen reversed this as well, creating the New 52, which was immediately adapted into an animated universe starting with Flashpoint. The movie was called Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox, which is a much, much longer title, but it was essentially the exact same storyline with just a couple changes, but it also had the same effect on the universe, which actually just started with that movie, where it rebooted the timeline. The next movie would be Justice League War, which would really be the beginning of the DC animated movie universe, an animated movie universe based off DC Comics, which is almost entirely based off the New 52. The character designs, most of the storylines used, it's almost entirely the New 52, only later adapting certain non-New 52 storylines like the Judas Contract, the death of Superman, and the return of Superman, as well as Batman Hush, but that was only later once, even in the comics, they were going back to the pre-New 52 timeline. But this all ended with the latest movie in this universe, the 15th movie, Justice League Dark Apokolips War, which was like the Infinity War endgame of this universe, acting as a semi-sequel to basically every single previous movie. It actually did a very good job in including every important character from previous movies, and it was also like the end of the world. In fact, it was even worse than in Infinity War or Endgame, where in the end, even though the heroes did win, the world is just completely dead, billions of people are dead, and Earth is about to be destroyed. Because of this, Barry Allen does the same exact thing he did in Flashpoint, where he goes back in time and creates a new timeline, which is the end of the DC animated movie universe, but the beginning of a new one. As of right now, this new universe doesn't have a name, but I'm sure the fans will give it some sort of acronym. Like the last one was the DC Animated Movie Universe. The one before that was the DC Animated Universe, which is television shows, not movies. So I guess you could just add another letter to this new one, like the NDCAMU, the new DC Animated Movie Universe, or something like that. As of right now, it doesn't have an acronym because it isn't really a universe yet. Right now, it's just one movie, with technically 3 more coming out this year and then the next half a year, actually. But none of them are actually confirmed to be a part of the same universe. It's just most speculation based off the fact that they all have the same art style. They seem to be building up this universe, and all of these movies would fit together very well. And because it was hinted at that the Justice League Dark Apokolips War would be the end of that universe, but it would also be the beginning of a new one, the reboot of a new one, which also begs the question, should this even be considered a different universe, or let's say equivalent to the MCU, where the DC animated movie universe up until Apokolips War is the Infinity Saga, while now everything after that is basically the next saga, Phase 4 and onwards of that same universe. I personally think that because it's a reboot, not a continuation mostly, and because the art style is completely different, that I think it should be considered a new universe, given a new acronym of sorts, maybe just added a new letter. Speaking of the art style, I actually really like it. I'm pretty sure it drew a little bit of criticism for some reason or another, but I personally do like it a lot more than the previous one. I always thought that the DC Animated Movie Universe's art style was a bit, I don't know, imaginative and boring, a little bit lazy, honestly. I liked a couple of movies in that universe. I liked a lot of the universe as a whole, especially because of the last movie. But I always thought the art style was it left a little bit to be desired. This new one, however, I think it's a lot more unique, and I think it works a lot better for the DC universe, and I'm excited to see where they go with it. So the DC animated universe started right away with the Justice League origin story right after Flashpoint, but this time around they're going for more of a Marvel Cinematic Universe approach, where they have these solo films, each one introducing 1 or 2 members of the Justice League, or maybe even 3. But that all leads up, probably, it's not been confirmed yet, but it's going to probably lead up to the Justice League origin movie, where all these characters come together for the first time. This all started with Superman the Man of Tomorrow. Superman Man of Tomorrow came out last year in 2020, the same year that Apokolips War came out, so the same year that universe ended. this one began. It was the only movie of this new universe to come out that year, even though this next year, 2021, has 3 movies from this universe. But this movie introduced a lot of significant characters like the titular Superman, as well as Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, a couple villains like Lobo and Parasite, as well as the Martian Manhunter, who will undoubtedly end up being a founding member of the Justice League like he was in the original comic books. The movie itself was pretty good, like not the best Superman movie I've ever seen, but I thought that they did a good job in introducing us to this universe and the characters, and Superman himself was a very likable version of the character. And like I already said earlier, I do definitely really like the art style. So overall, while this movie is definitely not amazing or anything, it was a pretty good start to this universe and a pretty good movie overall. The second film in this universe is much more interesting in my opinion. It's actually coming out like a week and a half after this video is, but it's more interesting because it's the first ever Justice Society of America movie, titled Justice Society World War II, already introducing an aspect of the DC universe that was never touched upon in the DC animated movie universe, which makes sense because Justice Society were not included in the New 52 either, replaced by the Wonders of the World, but even then that was on Earth 2, not on Prime Earth, where the DC animated universe is mostly inspired by. But not only is this new universe mostly taking its inspiration from pre-New 52, it seems, but also the Justice Society did return in Rebirth and also later in like Doomsday Clock and things like that. So the Justice Society are completely back in the DC universe, so it makes sense that they would be in this universe as well. But this movie is also just completely like blowing up this universe, introducing so many new heroes from the Justice Society from the past, but also from the present day, as the main storyline will follow Barry Allen, aka The Flash, accidentally time traveling for the first time to the 1940s and teaming up with the JSA. This version of the JSA is going to be a lot smaller and tightly knitted than the JSA typically is, as it only consists of 6 or 7 members. I say 6 or 7 because one of the members is Steve Trevor, and I don't really think we could count that. But anyway, there's Wonder Woman, Jay Garrick's The Flash, Hourman, Black Canary, and Hawkman, as well as Dr. Fate, who has been confirmed to be appearing in the movie. I'm assuming he's a part of the JSA, but that hasn't been confirmed. But what is interesting about this team is that every single member, again except for Steve Trevor, can potentially have a present-day counterpart that may be a member of the Justice League down the line. Wonder Woman is the most obvious one. She would just live through the century, potentially as either a prolific hero throughout the entire 20th century and then even the 21st century, or maybe after the events of this movie she returns to Themyscira only to return to man's world in the events of the next Justice League movie. But then there's also The Flash, who would obviously be replaced by Barry Allen, who actually appears in this movie. But then the next ones are a little bit more complicated. Hourman is most likely Rex Tyler, who in the comics has a son named Rick Tyler, who is the next Hourman. For him to be his son, he would have to be a lot older than he typically is in the comics. He would have to be like in his 50s or something. Or they can make him his grandson and solve that problem completely, making him a 20-year-old or something like that. The same thing goes for Black Canary, who is most likely Dinah Drake. In the comics, she has a daughter named Donna Laura Lance, who is the more famous Black Canary. But to make her like the main Black Canary of the 2020s, she would probably have to be Dinah Drake's granddaughter or maybe even great-granddaughter. Depending on where they want to go. Then there's Hawkman, who is pretty simple, as he's most likely Carter Hall, and he could be resurrected as Katar Hall, the Thanagarian version, in the present day. Finally, Dr. Fate, who's probably Kent Nelson, could either just live like Wonder Woman to the 21st century. We don't know how Dr. Fate's helmet affects aging in this movie, or they could go the route of where like Young Justice went, where Kent Nelson outlived the role and he passed away. And that role of Dr. Fate moved on to somebody else. There have been a lot of Dr. Fates in the comics, like Khalid Ben Hassan, Hector Hall, Inza Nelson. There's been a lot of different characters who've been Dr. Fate, so it doesn't need to be Kent Nelson. So there definitely could be a Dr. Fate on the Justice League. I have no idea where he's going to fit in the movie, like narratively, but Aquaman is also appearing at some point, almost definitely, I'm assuming, in the present day. So from just this one movie, we went from having just 2 heroes from the first movie, Superman and Martian Manhunter, to at least 10 on screen, but closer to 20 if all of the successors and associated characters would later appear as well. In terms of the Justice League founding members, I think it's pretty clear from these two movies that they're going for the OG pre-crisis version of the founding members of the Justice League: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, The Flash, Aquaman, and Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. Only Batman and Green Lantern have yet to appear, but the former is appearing in his own movie, which is the next one, Batman The Long Halloween Part 1 and Part 2. After the insane expansion of the universe in Justice Society World War II, the universe slows down quite a bit with Batman The Long Halloween Parts 1 and 2. As of right now, the only heroes confirmed to be appearing are the titular Batman, who is definitely going to be the next founding member of the Justice League, as well as Barbara Gordon, who isn't even going to be Batgirl yet. I'm assuming she's going to be a little bit younger than Batgirl typically is, since this is supposed to be like the early days of Batman's career. This movie, as well as its second part, will be much more of a Batman universe builder than like building the rest of the universe, as it will introduce Batman's supporting cast, including the aforementioned Barbara Gordon, as well as a large amount of the Rogues Gallery, including Catwoman, the Joker, Carmine Falcone, Two-Face, Calendar Man, and Solomon Grundy, all of whom had large roles in the Long Halloween comic book storyline. But if they're going like for exact comic accuracy, then Scarecrow, the Penguin, the Riddler, and Poison Ivy will all be appearing as well. Much like Superman Man of Tomorrow, this will show Batman in his early years, as well as like the origin stories of several very important villains, much like the comic it's based off of, which is supposed to be set a few months after the events of Batman Year 1, which obviously take place over the course of his first year, meaning The Long Halloween starts in Year 2, and since the story lasts a full year, that means it ends in Bruce Wayne's third year as Batman, which, going off the trailers, is likely to be the case in the movies as well. Part 1 will release on June 21st, with Part 2 set to be released in the fall later this year. That's basically all we know about this universe so far: Superman Man of Tomorrow, Justice Society World War II, and Batman The Long Halloween Parts 1 and 2. Where they're going forward, I don't know. I'm assuming they probably will make a Green Lantern movie because they are going for the OG founding members from the comics, and Green Lantern's the only one left who hasn't appeared, and he hasn't had a movie in a very, very long time, so I think that it is about time that he does get one. Maybe they could go for a Green Arrow movie because the last universe didn't do that at all, and we've never had an animated Green Arrow movie, so that's something that I would love to see. Or maybe the next movie after Long Halloween will be Justice League. We have no idea as of right now. Regardless, I am glad that they're taking their time with the universe. I'm very happy that they're building a new universe at all. And I'm very excited to see where it just all goes. So let me know in the comments down below what I'm very excited to see where it all goes. So let me know in the comments down below what you think they're going to do next after Batman The Long Halloween Part 2. What DC characters do you think should get their own movies? And how do you think they should build up this universe? What do you think they should build it up to? Because they already did like a Darkseid and Apocalypse. What do you think should be the end game of this new universe? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.